Hi, everyone. This is Annalisa with Inside Real Estate. I want to make sure you can hear me. They may be having some. Aha. Hi, everyone. This is Annalisa with Inside Real Estate. And I wanted to just say hello. Scott Carlton is on his way into the session. So I'll be right back to get things started with him. If you could go ahead and pop into a little chat box or question box and let me know if you can see my shared screen with John Travolta there and also hear me right now. That would be super helpful. Then we'll know we're good to go in just a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Hello there.
Scott, are you there?
I am here.
Okay, cool. I am going to go ahead and get us going here. So everyone, this is Annalisa with Inside Real Estate, and we have a special guest today. His name is Scott Carlton. He is a success coach with Inside Real Estate. We had him on as a guest, I think about, it was a few weeks ago, I think it was. And he wanted to make sure that we get you some skills that you can multiply. And you're welcome for the earworm today, everybody. You're welcome.
Awesome.
So without further ado, we've got Scott Carlton, and he is going to speak to statuses and action plans. So let's get going.
And hello and happy day. Yeah, that's going to be in my head all day. Annalisa, I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome.
They're multiplying.
Yeah, see?
Awesome. Okay, so we are, this has really been coming as a request from several people who just want to feel like they have a better grasp on their action plans and how to make those work. And Annalisa, if you'll start us off, I think, with giving us a place where we can talk about our statuses first, because, you know, I don't even like to say the D word. And everybody knows what I mean by the D word. Drip.
I'm not sure what you, no, I don't know.
Drip. Drip is the D word. I don't
like
to say
Did we lose his audio?
Can you hear me?
There you are. There, that's better. So the D word?
Yeah, drip.
Ah, right, because a drip is kind of an old-fashioned phrase of peppering information out there, but now it's so much more. Right. With the automations with AI and triggers and so forth. So is that what you're kind of getting to?
Yeah, I think a lot of people equate drip with spam.
Right.
So, and in a lot of cases, what you'll find is that most of the communications that people have done in the past have had two things wrong with drip that I see on a regular basis. And one of them is it always seems to be email, number one. That that it always seems to just be a bunch of emails. And number two, it usually isn't serving a real purpose other than, somebody saying, I need to have something keeping me in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always have enough of a strategy other than that. And then, of course, there's just hammering people with emails on a regular basis that are not relevant to those individuals is a good way to get those individuals no longer to want to receive your emails. In the old days, you could just be annoying. Today, you're going to get blocked. You're going to end up in a spam filter. You're going to end up with a bad email reputation. So what you don't want to do is just randomly throw a bunch of stuff in people's email accounts, right? And so those days are over. And in the old days, I saw a lot of that, but that's not how things work today. So the purpose of this is to make sure that when we are communicating with people, that we're communicating with the specific goal in mind, that we're meeting them in a relevant space, and that we're speaking to them in context, right? And ultimately, achieving the goal that we want as a result of doing it. So you have a conversion dash for me right now, and we want to look at KB Core and conversion today both, because this will relate to both platforms. I'm going to start on conversion because I just got out of one of those, so it's a really comfortable spot for me, but then we'll jump into KB Core as well and share.
Yeah, no problem.
So let's start off on the conversion because they work a little bit different, and I want to make sure that we cover both spaces. So starting off with conversion, can you bring us to just a dashboard screen in conversion? Or
I have it up in front of me here.
I'm still seeing I got skills.
Let me refresh it.
There it is. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Awesome. So really what I want to highlight here is these statuses that we're looking at right now, because these also are relevant in KV Core, with the exception, I think KV Core, you have a prospect status, correct?
Correct.
And so if you look at these and look at these different statuses, and people look at them as buckets, and rightly so, I understand that, but each one of these is a step in a life cycle of a lead. So starting with new, for example, a new lead is somebody you've never met before. This is somebody who just showed up, whether they're from Zillow or from some social networking you've done, or they're coming from pay-per-click, or wherever it is. This is somebody you've never communicated with. So they just came into your system. They just showed up. Whether, no matter how you got them there, here they are. They're in your website, right? Organically or otherwise. So the one goal, you have one goal for this, and that is to get into a conversation with this individual, right? Now, I know the one goal should be, no, I want to sell a house and get more gross commission, right?
Right.
And we'll get there. But if you said that to them the second you spoke to them, your chances of getting that transaction may go down a little. I don't know. It depends. Some of you guys are amazing salespeople, and you scare me. But that first conversation should be all about getting into it, getting into that conversation and making it happen. So realizing that conversion has a default buyer and seller, so does KV Core. You have a default buyer and seller campaign built into these things that have been vetted, right? They've been vetted, meaning that, for the conversion campaigns, those things have been tweaked and challenged for 9 years. I'm going to have a lot of confidence in those, unless you're off A/B testing your stuff and, you found something better and you've A/B tested it and you've beaten it, then you don't need to reinvent the wheel in these spaces with your conversion buyer and seller, in my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't personalize it a little bit more. That doesn't mean that you can't make it say the same thing in a way that you would say it so that you feel like it suits you. And it doesn't mean that you can't push your brand a little bit with it, okay?
Right.
So know that you can make changes to these, and I'll show you how that works in a minute here. So if we go back and look at the we go back and look at the statuses again, your next
Yes.
status after you have a new lead is going to be an active lead. So what's the difference between a new lead and an active lead? A new lead you've never spoken to, they've never responded to you, they've never done anything. An active lead is someone who has. Even if that response, to me at least, and this is for me, okay, this doesn't mean it has to be the way it works. Let me stop and say my way is great, but your way's good too. Maybe you want to create your own definitions for each of these buckets and create your own strategies accordingly. Understand I'm sharing mine now, okay? So if your strategy for this is different from mine, realize mine's okay, yours is okay, that's great. But if you don't have a strategy, stick with me here, will you? Each one of these buckets that you're looking at right now should have a strategy beneath it. In other words, each status should be a bucket of people that you have a strategy for. Each step is that step in that life cycle of a lead. You're new and I don't know who you are, to, well, we've communicated even if we're not working together, to, oh, now you're a client and we're working together, to, okay, now we have a contract on a home together, to, we just went to a closing and now you're a past client in my sphere. We want every lead that comes in as new to go through that chain and as fast as humanly possible, to the point where we've gone through, we've hit our closing, and now, I've hashtagged you past client and put you into my sphere of influence, right? So looking at each one of those stages real quick and realizing that, a new person for a new lead should have something all generated to get them to respond to me so I can find out what their needs are. And anybody who has responded to me or has even just been around for 100 days. I mean, to me, if you look at a conversion default campaign, they're 100 days long. At the end of 100 days, I imagine these guys know who I am, right? So for me, after 100 days, and this isn't all of you, and Annalisa might not even be in the same page with me on this, but to me, after 100 days, these guys know who I am. So right now she's pulling up the conversion default campaign. And what you see, it goes for 100 days, okay? Now, at the end of that 100 days, then what? If I leave them in the new lead bucket beyond 100 days, they're still getting listing alerts, but that's it, right? Because their campaign's over. It's terminated. So what I do, and don't leave where you're at, you're in the perfect place right now. I can hit use this campaign right here, and I could pull the conversion default campaign into my dashboard, into my settings. I can pull that in here. I already have one, but go ahead. I can pull that in here into my own dashboard. And now I can go edit it, right? If I need to. So this is where you can personalize things and make it yours. So I can scroll down, and then I can take any of these messages, and if I want to personalize them, I can. If I want to tweak them, I can. If I want to go to the drip editing, just for everybody's sanity, Annalisa, if you'll put your name, your mouse up on your name in the top right-hand corner, if nobody here knew how to get in and see a campaign, you put your mouse over your name, you go down to settings, you click it, and in your settings, you can scroll down and see how to build a campaign, how to automatically trigger campaigns, and how to add campaigns. Now, what we have here is I know that this campaign is going to end, this one here, after 100 days. So if I wanted to, I could just hit this pull down where here's the actual campaigns down here that you can get in, and you can edit these and change them, right? But if you scroll back up to where you create your campaigns, Annalisa, you'll notice that on the right-hand side is where you create a campaign. So I could name this sample campaign right here and just name it whatever I want to. And I would hit not share normally, unless I have it, like I want to share it with my team and have them all grab it. Otherwise, I'm going to hit not share. And then I could just hit add campaign right there underneath, and poof, I have that campaign. Wait, Now, everybody see what happened? Anytime you make an edit on this page, what's going to happen is it's going to shoot to the top of the page, save it, and then it's going to come back down to where you left off. So be patient. When you make an edit and you click away from that edit, just wait a second and let the screen kind of roll on you for a moment, and it'll bring you right back where you left off every time. So don't get frustrated by that. It's saving it for you. That's how it saves. So now I have this empty campaign. So if I wanted to build a message into this empty campaign, I could go right back up to where I built the campaign at. And on the left-hand side, I could just hit that campaign pull down, pick which one I want to edit. And I can say, okay, send on day, what day I want to send on, pick a day, and then method for sending. Super important, you guys. I can email the people, I can text my people. But also, more importantly, I can email to me and remind myself of what to do on that date. I can text myself, remind me. I can schedule a call and say, here's what I want to do on this call, and have that go in there. Email to me, text to me, schedule a call. Now there's another one that's webhooks. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole today, but webhooks is a way of triggering actions from programs outside the site. Things like thank you cards, thanks.io. Some of you advanced folks might know what we're talking about. We're not going down that rabbit hole, but Annalisa might reference one of Ryan's trainings on this for you. But the idea is that every message doesn't have to be a drip email, right? It should be an email, a quick text, reminders to you of what to do and how to move on with it, okay? So for me, what I would do is go back up to where we add a message real quick, and where it says we can add messages to our campaigns, I would choose the conversion default second version we just did, Scott default, or there it is, that one, and then send on day 105. And I would probably pop in here, campaign over, move to active. Unless they're working with you, then move them to client. And that's how I would approach it. Because for me, after 100 days of conversion default, they should probably know who I am by now. If they're not speaking to me, it's because they're not ready to work with me yet, right? But chances are they know who I am. So I'll go in there and say, okay, do I move them to active? Do I move them to client? This campaign's over though. I want to put into subject, end of campaign, move status, right? And then you can change, and that's a reminder to you. You make sure it's an email to you. You don't want to send that to your client. If it's an email to them, you're sending it to your client. So you want to make sure it's email to me. And you put that in at day 105, and then you can make sure that you have this campaign now, right? That's going to take you to that's going to tell you when it's over, so that your people don't end up just out there getting nothing except the listings at that point. So that's when I tend to move over to what we call your active campaign. If they've been in there 100 days, on day 105, I want to move to active. So what is a strategy for active? What do you do with an active lead? By definition, you may have an active lead be somebody who's searching, but they're not working with you yet, right? They're not working with you yet. To me, they're searching, or they've acknowledged to me, or they're 100 days old and they're not working with me yet. So for me, an active campaign should be a strategy to get them to work with me. And my best strategy is to give them what they want. So why don't I create points of service, right? So usually with an active campaign, what I'm going to do is little things like, I've been sending you listings, how did they look? Right? Are you getting the listings I'm sending to you? If so, how did they look? You've got yourself really covered over there, because if for some reason they're not getting those listings, or they don't get listings from you, then no, I'm not getting the listings would be a great response, because now you could go set them up. If they say, well, yeah, I'm getting the listings, then the next question is, are they a good match for what you're searching for? Letting them know that I'm happy to make tweaks and changes. What about your search? What about your needs should I know in order to be sending you the best matches? So putting together something along those lines, and I have something like that in a default campaign in the bucket right now that I use for an example. I'm not saying go use my sample campaign. I'm saying I have something in there that works as an outline that you can search out there under my last name. So if you go into the shared campaigns and type Carlton, I've got an example of that in there. So they're in there. And look at that. You have a shortcut. Yeah, you do. So if you scroll down,
like K Plus users, this is,
point that out.
Yeah, I call this the save your bacon search, because you can put in an MLS number, address, email, phone number, name, and it'll pull up the results. So I just put in Carlton and then put shared email. So now I need to find you. Is it a shared one though?
Yeah, just keep scrolling.
Oh, here, there's the client, there's active buyer. Perfect, okay.
Now, I'm gonna stop here for a minute because conversion's different. I have to say, KV Core people, I want you all to get a big smile on your face, because when we jump over into your dashboard, you're gonna see that there is actually KV Core default campaigns for each status all ready for you, okay? So the work that I put into here and other people have put into your conversion campaigns are pretty awesome, and there's a giant shared place to go see campaigns. But you KV Core people, we're going to show you where you could just basically plug and play, which is amazing, and how you can clone those and then tweak them, just like I'm showing people how to clone the campaigns we have in Conversion Plus and tweak them right now. So right here with this Conversion Plus campaign for active buyers, you'll notice that what I did was I took the code. See, when you borrow a campaign, the content doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to match. It doesn't have to be exactly you. But if you could just get the framework, the framework, and this is really what this is my framework. If you pull this in because you want something that's automatically going to use their first name on emails and have your signature on it, right? Or something that on a text is just going to have your name at the end, and it's all done for you and it's all formatted. So you go in there and you can change all of the content. So if you hit use this campaign at the bottom and then rename it something for yourself, right? And you can make this Annalisa's, right? You could change your name on it and then hit OK, and that's going to save that campaign that you're borrowing right into your dashboard. From there, you can go ahead and take that campaign and you can, get in there and add messages to it right here. So if I want to add a message, I could. If I just want to scroll down and look at each one, you can change every single message. You can change every subject, you can change what day it goes out, and you can change the method by which you do it. So is it an email? Is it a text? Is it an email to me? And a good, healthy campaign when you get to active, to me, active is your single most important campaign here, other than new. New is most important because you need to get that conversation going. But from active, the goal of this is to get them to a point where they feel like you're already working with them, so that when they have a question, you get it. They become your client, right? So our goal here is to convert someone who has either acknowledged you, been around long enough to know who you are, or has responded in some way, and to turn that person into someone who's working with you. That is the entire goal. Otherwise, why even have a campaign, right? You want to move them down that chain. So the point is that you want to give them points of service, things that you can do for them. So think about what opportunities you have. One, let's let them know I'm already working for them. I'm sending them these listings, and that are they a good match? Are we taking good care of you? Are you seeing what you want? Are you getting them at the frequency that's appropriate? Because most people are on daily, but if you're in mode right now, you probably want to get these the minute they come on the market so you can jump on the place you want, right? Being able to make those statements and give them the fact that, look, I'm working for you, without saying the same thing every time. When's your timing? When's your timing? When's your timing? Which is, you keep chanting that at them, and eventually they'll say never, right? So what we want to do is just let them know we're taking care of them. By the way, and if you need a place to search while you're on the go, here's my mobile app. Do you want to search like an agent does? Download the mobile app. Here's my mobile app, right? Get this on your phone, make it your safe place to search for homes. It's either that or they're going to keep going to Google and giving their data to everybody, right? All the other realtors in town, give them to Zillow so they can sell them to 3 other agents. We don't need all of the people that we meet searching at 11 sites anymore. We want to give them that one safe place where their data isn't going to get bought, sold, and shared, right? So we want to make a point of that maybe and incubate them to your app. You might want to let them know some of the things their site will do. By the way, if you want to tweak your search or you want to take different looks at home, you can go in and do a school search. Did you know you can do a map search? Inform them of some of the things that they're able to do in your system. And it's a good way to kind of keep them working with you, is to inform them of some of the things you're going to do. And then we have those hot little converter notes like, hey, I'm going to be out this week looking at homes, showing homes. Is there anything that you're interested in taking a look at? And I always say this week, I don't say weekend, because if you have plans this weekend and you say that, it's really going to make you mad. So I just say, I'm going to be out this week. So what kind of opportunities convert? I'm going to be out this week, or I'm putting together a list of reduced priced homes. Would you like me to send you a copy? And that's just what? You're shooting them a quick squeeze page, that takes 30 seconds to create. Just so there's different things that you can do in your campaigns that are going to help convert those. My attention goes to new and active. I'm going to stop for a second and let Annalisa address and see if we have any questions or anything before I hop over.
Questions are caught up in regards to things regarding what we're speaking to. I did want to point out, when you are editing a KV Core drip campaign, when you first go in here and maybe you create your own or you import one, this section here, the new lead initial text and the welcome email, these are items of which you can set in place as an agent that will supersede the system default initial text and initial welcome email. So if you're creating a targeted niche type of drip campaign or smart campaign, even in KV Core, you can actually set something up so it's speaking to a particular area, speaking to a particular targeted type of contact, which is really handy. And when you do edit these, you'll notice when I click into any of these boxes, it turns blue, this outline. Mm-hmm. So that means you're actively editing this field. When you've made your changes and you click outside of the box,
here comes the roll.
That is what, that's what saves that's what saves the work. So you'll see there's no save button, only delete. So when you click outside of the box, that's when the page will update this information, and then it'll roll us back down to the bottom. And you'll see it's outlined in gray saying it's done. And so that's how you basically edit these. And you'll also see there's these variables here.
Thank you.
So you can actually pull these in, and there's a couple of places the lists are, but there's a variable list right here. And on KV Core, you'll know those as merge tags. Mm-hmm. But with variables, you can add in first name, hashtag last name, hashtag full name, your phone number, etc. And you can actually have the system automatically pull this type of content from the lead, from you, to make it more personalized of a campaign in your action plan.
Yep. And while we're at it, if you'll scroll up to where we create the campaigns again, sometimes you might have a custom audience. You might be doing something that's tailored to a specific group. You'll notice that when you're adding a new drip campaign, you can use hashtags.
Right.
Conversion Plus only, right?
No, KD Core has it as well.
Sweet. I didn't know that was
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you can
Yeah,
basically choose an audience by hashtag, and anytime you get a new lead in from that hashtag, you can have it assigned to a specific drip campaign.
Right. And like what we'll see here is like there's this hashtag of open house 481167. So it can be very handy when you have an open house to create some type of a drip campaign if you wanted to, depending on if it's a luxury property and you want to have some type of catered feeling. You could create a drip campaign that will trigger when that hashtag lands. And when you use our open house apps for either system, they're automatically going to be hashtagged with open house and then the MLS number. So you've got built-in lists happening all the time of which you can leverage. You can add them on drip campaigns. You can send them out individual messages via your mass text, mass email, and there's a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah, you can definitely have some fun with this and tailor your messaging to your audience, which is important to me. That's why the statuses are important. If we could just for a second jump back to the statuses real quick. Everybody sees that you can go to your settings by clicking on your name and come in here, add campaigns or borrow campaigns and change them. Actually, if we scroll up the page first before we leave it, we can also auto trigger these campaigns to kick in. So right now we have nothing under active on your list, right, Annalisa? You have your conversion defaults, but then the next one to plug in would be active. Now, if you plug in an active and save it, then you're creating a trigger that when you move that person, when you change that person to individual status from a new lead to an active, we can kill off of the old campaign and kick into the new one, so that we're always communicating in context based on where our relationship is. Annalisa?
And it's super handy because you know you have an action plan in place. It's going to cover everything by default. And then as you see different unique opportunities, you can pick and choose how you're going to address those. And I know Sylvia's like, oh, I miss being able to share campaigns. And I'm guessing that's how she sounded because she's like, ugh. So what's happening is they are bringing, they do have these share campaigns available via the admin within KD Core. So that admin can create campaigns and share them amongst all of the users within. So Sylvia, you may want to speak with your broker or your admin contact and see if they can add some campaigns and then share them with everyone. That would be the workaround right now. I know they're working on other things as well, but this should help.
So if you do me a favor and go back to the dashboard link and just hit that so that we're looking at our status list again on our homepage.
Yes.
There we go. So really, again, thinking of the life cycle of a lead, starting it new, I don't know who you are. I want to have a strategy to get that first conversation started, to active. I have an active client here, or an active prospect. I want to convert that into a client now by proactively, assumptively converting them with services. Well, the next step on there is client, right? Is client. And so if I've converted somebody into a client, when I triggered that campaign, what do you think is a great email to start firing off by default in drip to a client? None. Absolutely nothing. You're talking to them, right? You're working with these people on a regular basis. I use the client as a trigger to remind me, here's what, once you're working with somebody, here's a list of things I like to do. Make sure they know how to do this. Make sure they know the features on the site. Make sure that they know to come to you. Make sure if anybody asks you, you're working with a realtor, tell them you are, things like that. But whatever those things are that you want to remind yourself of, then build your campaign with triggers to come back and tell you something. So for me, and again, you guys can choose your own adventure for each bucket, but for me, look, I'm going to manage that relationship when they're a client. I want to make sure that that's how I'm triggering it, and I don't want an email to go out that's not going to be accurate for our relationship at that point. And that won't happen if you're a client, you're working with them, right? I feel the same thing about contract. The contract bucket should be triggers to me of things that I need to do or things that are recommended for me to do with the client, with the file, and with my services for that individual. What do I want to make sure I'm doing to take care of all of my clients? So really, for those two campaigns, they should be super, super simple, right? When you get to closed, though, that's when you start to get a little more creative, right? And for a closed campaign, what I recommend people do is stop thinking of it as a campaign for a second and just shelf that. And now sit down with a piece of paper and go, what's my post-close routine? And just etch it out. And that way you can build in the reminders and everything triggers off to you. For people with small teams, now KB Core, you might be integrating with .loop, you might be integrating with some other transaction management tool that's doing this for you. But I'll tell you what, for small teams, for people on Conversion Plus, if you could just get your post-close routine, I want to remind them, on day 2, hey, we got 48 hours, make sure you get that escrow stuff in, so let's go move. Or if, I want to have something that's going to remind me to fire off the utilities or to help them out with the links to where to do change of address and, DMV and where all those resources are to, be servicing the client after the sale, and setting them up to ask for that testimonial and then setting them up after that to look for those referrals and trigger those into my post-close routine. Get that down there so that it's automatically helping you manage you to get these things done, and you don't have to constantly remember or work out of a book. So help you manage you with that. And I'm just giving you my strategies for each stage because I would want to build it in. The best thing you can do with any system is to build yourself the confidence to know that you're managing your people the way you want to for each stage of your relationship. And that's what we're giving you an opportunity to do with not only the software, but the training that comes with it. So you can get leads, but at the end of the day, it's what you do with the lead that determines your income. And if you can manage people, and when I say manage yourself with people and to make sure that you're addressing them in the way that they want to be addressed, which is in context for each stage of that relationship, you're going to convert a lot more leads. A lot of people have nothing, no answer for any of these things. Realize that we're providing you these answers. If Annalisa, you could go to the desktop one more time real quick. Again, this works for both platforms, but on this one in particular, would you hit the needs help in the top right-hand corner? Is that question mark right there that says need help? If you click on that and just type in lead status, it'll give you a definition for every status so that you can think about how to manage them. If you don't have to use what we give you, you could obviously design your own follow-up for each one of these, right? But we give it to you, okay? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all right here. How to use them, how to change them, everything you want is right there. So I love that help question mark in the top right-hand corner of Conversion Plus. Anyway, so that's really how you want to, you want to figure out how to manage those lead statuses, know what they are to you first, and then get a strategy for each stage that's going to help you get them to the next one. So the big one that people usually ask me about is sphere of influence. And I want to say this without offending any of you 33 touchers or anybody who has long and intricate campaigns for your sphere of influence. I don't have a sphere of influence drip campaign. Here's why. For me, here's why. One is I know that if I do a good blog with Conversion Plus, this system is going to put that blog in my sphere of influence newsletter, right? So that newsletter is going to go out automatically. So I've got that once a month touch. If I put bad stuff in my blog, I have a bad newsletter. If I put good stuff in my blog, I have a good newsletter. So, I make sure that the blog has things that are relevant, how to use the site to find cool stuff, what's important if you live in our area geographically, allergy season, whatever. But really, for my blog post, I make sure that I'm giving them something that, one, helps them get back into the site and do stuff so that they're active, but it informs them of things that are important locally and informs them of things that I'm doing. And I share listings, I share squeeze pages, things that that are going to be effective in keeping your sphere engaged without acting like you're still trying to sell to them. Now, the secondary thing is, okay, so there's the once a month, but isn't there anything more I would do with my sphere? And my answer is yes, absolutely. I hope you guys know your hashtags. And if you don't, learn about them, because every single group that goes into your sphere of influence should have a hashtag. So if I have a closed client, at the end of my closed campaign, the last message is hashtag past client, move to sphere. At the end of my closed campaign, the last message should be hashtag closed client, move to sphere. And so they go into the sphere, they get the newsletter once a month with whatever relevant information's in my blog. But now I can take and do one mass text or email to my past clients and be specific. Hey, I just want to let you know that I appreciate the fact that we worked together, and I hope the experience was as good for you as it was for me. I felt, I'm really happy with your home. I hope you are, or whatever your message is going to be, but speak to them like, hey, we worked together before. So, and I go into my sphere, I'm just not going into my sphere, I'm going into the hashtag, and I'm communicating into the group that way. So if I want to add something besides a 30-day touch, then I know that I can do a targeted message in context to a specific group. If I have hashtag family, hey, just want to let you know I love you guys. Boom, that's a text. I'm out. These things matter. Speaking to people in context instead of sending them some random information that they're going to get from the other 9 realtors they're not working with matters. And that's how I would approach these things. And I would approach them in either platform. Annalisa, do we want to flip to Core for a couple minutes?
Yeah, you bet. Any
questions, comments?
There are some questions that are coming through that I'll need to answer separately that aren't pertaining to what we're speaking to right now. But I'll follow up on those, Sylvia, and awesome. I'm looking for the other gentleman's name. Nitu left. So I'll be following up with Nitu and Sylvia on their separate questions that are outside of this.
So for anybody who's new out there while we're doing this, keep in mind, we're talking about, making sure that you've got a watertight pipeline, right? That your system manages people the way you want them to from A to Z, including your campaigns and follow through. And that is so critical in my mind to lead conversion. Not as critical as it is to get people in. Because if you don't have anybody in here, none of this works. So I do say, if you're brand new and you're watching this and you're going, man, this is like, detailed, crazy stuff. I'm not even there yet. I get it. Start with your learning portals. Start with your training where you're supposed to get it. Go through those, do those trainings. Learn the basics of a hashtag, and don't be afraid to go to search in your help centers, in your knowledge bases, and in your catalog. Find the information that you want to. Don't be afraid to hit that chat bubble and ask a question to your reps. That you have just amazing support people. I get into conversations with them sometimes and feel absolutely dwarfed, and I've been doing this for 15 years. We have some very, very special support people on our team. So don't be afraid to ask that question. And if somebody doesn't have the answer, they always know where to go to get it. So yeah, feature requests are awesome. You can speak to that.
Yeah, so I know that everyone's pretty aware of, like, you click the cap, you know, at the bottom left-hand side of your dashboard. There's the cap on both the K Plus and KV Core dashboards.
Mm-hmm.
And then also on both of you have the question marks, which gets you to the support portal where all of our written documentation is. Now, when we look at the chat portal here, which is the same on both KV Core and K Plus,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually submit a feature request here really handily just by clicking on Share Feedback. And you can also see what our product team is currently reviewing. And you have the ability to search for different items to see if there's something you want to support by clicking the little heart to vote it up.
Vote it up.
You can also, yeah, I know, that's the thing. You gotta get people behind you, because that's what helps product realize what users are craving and needing and wanting to do their business. So it's important that you get those voted up, or ask people to help you out with that. Now, to submit a feature request, you just click Share Feedback, and then you write like a little title, like I would write, KV Core, add in auto tag for birthdays, which is something I thought would be super handy today. Like if you entered in June in the field on the dashboard, then it might be hashtag June birthday automatically. I'm like, hey guys, can we do this? So, I added this as a feature request earlier, and then I just clicked KV Core and sent it on its way.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes directly to the product team to review, and they have reviews pretty frequently. So I really encourage you to take a look at this, see what might interest you, that you're thinking, oh yes, we absolutely need that, or, and so forth, and get those submitted.
Perfect. Okay, so marketing autopilot, right?
Yes.
Love it. Marketing autopilot on KV Core gives you the opportunity to do your smart campaigns, right?
Right.
So we can go in here and we can click on start a campaign. And okay, so real quick here, most people miss this. It's hiding a little bit. And if you think about it, see where it says KV Core library? Hit that little pull down arrow. And this is the easy button, people. This is what I was talking about. Look, we have default campaigns for every status right now. You can plug these in, add them to your library. Now I know there's some people over there on K Plus going, hey, vote it up. But there's default campaigns being provided for every stage over here in KV Core right now. If you're not sure, if you don't have something, use this. It's already built. It's ready to go. This program, KV Core, could literally almost run plug and play if you just know where to go and what to click. So again, the easy button is what I call it, right?
Right, because it is set up so you can, clone the entire smart campaign as part of your action plan, and then you have the ability to edit things. You can create your own little templates to put in there. You can trigger reminders to yourself just like you can with K+. So there's a lot of things that are built here with in mind of helping you maintain the time you need to be out and about doing things and letting the system percolate and work for you in the background, because really it's pretty heavily AI driven with these triggers and responses and things like that to help you be able to get out and drive around your county 4 times in one day, right? Which can happen sometimes. So it allows you that time frame.
For those who are on KV Core, to do the same stuff that we were talking about on K+, a couple things you'll want to know about is merge tags and then how to clone a campaign, right?
Right. So I'll go back to the dash. Okay. And where would you like me to go?
So what we said first was relevant, right? What
Yes.
we said first was relevant as far as everything that we did on Conversion Plus is stuff that translates over here. So to begin with, I think we can just click on and open up a campaign, can we not? So that we can see the.
Actually, let me open up a default one.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh my goodness, Comcast. Okay, so we'll open up the new lead buyer.
There you go.
Okay.
Up in the top left-hand corner. So this is super cool. And there's a few things I like about it. If you go ahead and you'll see where it says clone, if you wanted to take this campaign and clone it, you could clone it, right? So I could hit clone, and then I can come in here and say when to start the campaign. So how am I going to trigger that? So right now this says when a lead is transferred. Well, when you change the status can be that as well, right? So
right.
you have different triggers that you can create. So when status is active, then it could trigger in this campaign to run. And now you have the ability to go in there and edit your messages, right? You have the ability to go in there and edit the messages and make it yours. So realize that you can clone these campaigns, personalize them, and make them your own. You can also, there we go. Now, but what about an individual message? Can I tweak an individual message? Can I edit it? So over on campaign, go ahead, edit, hit templates. That's where you wanted to go.
I was trying to anticipate.
No, you're great. In fact, you had a better route than I did, so I'm sticking with what you said.
Okay.
So, you know, how many times do you have a better route than I do? It's embarrassing. But here we go. Now I can say, okay, my first post-call email, right? Test. Now you can go change that if you want to. Is that correct?
Right. Well, what we see here, right, is I had it in here from the default, and then I made a copy,
right,
and edited it. So
correct.
I cloned it. So I have my own copy, and then I edited the information. So then I can click.
Thanks.
Yep, absolutely.
So this is awesome, and I really like the editor on here. And you'll notice the merge tags are different here than they are on the other system. So you have a different library for merge tags, but hit that baby, will you? Look at this.
Yeah, it's this little sun-looking icon. So it's just right next to the link and the question mark. And when you hover over these, if you add in first name, last name, it's going to pull the content directly from that contact. So it'll pull their first name, last name, etc.
I don't have to copy and paste on this one. I can just hit a button and drop in a merge tag. Boom.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Which is pretty neat.
It is. So you're able to communicate with your people that way. Now, campaigns can be done and shared at different levels, right? You can have a company campaign, you can have a team campaign, and you can have an individual campaign, correct?
Correct. They can only be shared from the top down currently.
Gotcha. Good to know. So know that you can make the same edits in KV Core that we showed you in Conversion Plus. I wanted to make sure we went in there and showed you where, and showed you where the easy button was in case you want it. You already have all these great campaigns that you know, painstakingly authored that are sitting back there in the system. So use them. For those of you guys on Conversion Plus who want that voted up, search it, it's in there. So as far as, you know, just a summary is what what we've been looking at today and what to do, really, what's actionable from here. My recommendation is that you look at each bucket, okay? Look at our definitions first. And if it doesn't exactly match your business model for whatever reason, then write down your definition so that you are absolutely solid in what an active lead is to you, or what a client is to you, or, you know, etc. I think close is pretty obvious, right? Contract is fairly obvious. But, you know, make sure that you're solid on what that is. And then we should have a strategy for each stage so that when they have a life cycle of a lead, you know, that life cycle is, I don't know you, you just came in, I collected a lead, I'm excited. what's my strategy, right? My strategy is to get that guy to work with me, but that's not going to happen if I can't communicate. So let's see if we can get the conversation started. Great. Get the conversation started. Make it about them. That's a great way to do it. Then once that conversation started, then assume that relationship forward by already servicing them, creating that kind of sense of reciprocity, that sense of obligation that this guy's already working for me. I might as well ask him, right? Or her. And make sure that you create that communication, that reciprocity. Active lead should be a goal of assuming that relationship into a client status. Once you have a client status, then you want to make sure that you're personally managing that stuff. So my recommendation is most of the communication is going to be communication to you from your system of things you want to tell yourself to do. Manage yourself with your client, with your client status, manage yourself with your close status or your contract status in some cases. And then when it comes to your closed, take the time to list out what you want your post-close routine to be and build it so that it reminds you of all the things that you want to do to be that, agent to your clients that you want to be. And then, make sure that your last message on that close campaign is #past client, move to Sphere. And then for Sphere, again, choose your own adventure, manage them the way you want to. For me, I minimalize the generic approach to my Sphere, right? I give them a good blog post that's going to hit that Sphere newsletter, and I have that monthly touch handled. The system will do it for you automatically as long as you put a good blog post in on K+ for your blogging. But I use hashtags with my Sphere of influence to help separate my groups so that I can speak in a more personal manner and convert it at a higher level into things like referrals and testimonials. So yeah, in other words, manage your people by who they are to you and what they would want from you, and you should convert at a higher rate.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to speak to the relevant topics of that Sphere, because this is another place of which you can leverage the use of hashtags as well, because you can have your Sphere out there, but then you can still break them into smaller groupings with those hashtags.
Exactly.
So you can then determine, is this family, are these contractors, are these trusted partners, are these people that I went to school with, are these people I met on LinkedIn, are these other agents that I might want to recruit someday? I mean, these are all things you can kind of think about as your business is growing and who you need to approach for what type of message, which is really helpful.
And don't be afraid to speak in your own voice. While
Yes.
we have the content, while we have this information, the reason you have the ability to copy and clone everything is because it may not be the exact way you'd say it. Maybe you speak in a branded format. Maybe you have a different approach in how you communicate with people. Know that you can say the same thing in your own way. So the strategy can remain, but feel free to edit your content and make it yours.
Yeah, and it's all about personality. I mean, as an ISA previously to working for conversion and now inside real estate, I found that when I would call, people up in Alaska versus South Carolina versus Portland, Oregon versus, Fort Lauderdale, those were all completely different ways of approaching people is what I found. I had to adjust my way of speaking based on that culture and how people just basically talk and communicate. So that was a really interesting learning experience. So I know some of you might read these notifications and you're like, whew, that's really not what I might say or how I might say it. But you have the ability to edit those smart campaigns and put your personality in it, which is really important.
Awesome.
Anything else to add? Uh-oh, is he there?
I'm here. Thank you so much for...
Oh, there you are.
bringing me on today, and for those of you who, and your good feedback, I appreciate it. And anything that I can learn from you, I'm wide open to. So I'll see you on a coaching session.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate everyone being here. If you had a question that you would pose that was outside of what our topic was currently, I will tackle that when the session is complete. I'll go back and review that. And then this was recorded. It will be posted within, now this is cool, some of you may or may not be aware of this, but within chat, you see these little numbers up on the bubble for chat? This means that we have sent you information that we feel is important for you to know about the site, what's happening with updates. So like today, there's an update that came through about KV Core, which is very imperative for you to read. So this is the same thing on conversion. So we'll be sending out the recordings here. They'll also be sent out on a email on Saturdays typically, and I'll be posting them within the discussion groups. And I'll also add a link into my master sheet that holds all of the past sessions we've had along with their videos and doc links. So all of that goes out to everyone, and I'll make sure it's in all the groups as well. And with that said, I guess we shall wrap up.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and hanging out. I'll get this formatted and posted out, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Have an amazing day. Thanks.